Hey, true believers. Chris Mack coming at you with Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles The Last Ronin #2. Now, I am thankfully surprised because a lot of times, a book will come out and everybody wants it. It's like the hot book of the month or the year, whatever. And it'll be like a 3 or 4, however many issues, like a mini-series, maxi-series, whatever. And after like maybe the first two, the book starts to taper off or whatever. This, I think, is not the case because I got this one and I was like, nah, that first one was a fluke. It was too good but yeah, this one was equally awesome and hits you in some really hard feels. So this is called The First to Fall. Now, like last time, let me see if I can get the book open without fighting it because this is an oversized book and it doesn't like to stay open. All right, we're good. So as I just said, it's called The Last Ronin Part 2, First to Fall. Story, Kevin Eastman, Peter Laird, Tom Waltz. Script, Tom Waltz and Kevin Eastman. Layouts, Eastman. Pencils and inks, Esau and Isaac Escorza. Yeah. Colors, Luis Antonio Delgado. Letters, Sean Lee. Here's everyone else working by the book. And of course, Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles was created by Peter Laird and Kevin Eastman. So we open up and April's laying in bed. And you kind of see she's waking up. She's thinking. And some tears start to fall. So there was supposed to be something special. Like we go into the past. So we actually finally get to see all 4 turtles. There's supposed to be something special that's going to happen with April and Casey. But before anything, before they can even talk to the turtles, anything like that, actions and stakes happen. Raph busts in and says, ambush! He bursts up the dinner table. Donnie and Mike are bringing Splinter in. You can see that he's hurt. And April and Casey are just like, what's going on? And you can see that we're going into her mind, this anguish that she's having to relive now that Michelangelo's here with her. That was the spoiler of the last issue, is April saves Mikey. I didn't want to spoil it. The next issue's out, so sorry if you want to check it out. Make sure to check out the review we did prior to this. But just seeing Splinter in pain like this, you're just like, oh God, because you don't want to see this. You know what I mean? So I guess at this point, like I said, I haven't read a lot of the original Ninja Turtle comics, but at this point there was supposed to be a truce between the Hamato clan and the Oroko clan. But blood has been spilt, ambush has happened. Now, Leo is saying that we need to focus on getting Splinter better. Hold on, the book's not wanting to stay open. And so they're saying call Dr. Lee, which I'm not sure who Dr. Lee is, but they're saying we have to move him. Splinter's losing too much blood in between Donnie and April. They don't know how to heal them. So we come back, and spoilers here as you find out that April, something's happened to her. We don't know yet, but I like these teases like this. So we see that she has used a lot of prosthetics, and there's actually a moment in here where we see Casey's golf bag with all his weapons and his mask, and she goes, a little help here? So we know nothing about this, so you're like, wait a minute. Every time you get an answer so far, there's more questions, and that's a way to keep drawing you back in. They did it excellent so far in this book, excellent in Old Man Logan, books like that kind of have that old gunslinger or old Ronin, which is Michelangelo at this point. And even though the turtles are dead, I like that he sees, we all know this isn't his mind, but he sees his brothers. And they're like, hard to believe anyone survived that. Because remember, Michelangelo fell from a very high building last issue. And Raph's like, talk about miracles. Right, Mike? Yeah, right. So, I like that instead of just having a whole bunch of dialogue and talking, blah, 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 it can be boring. They actually show the turtles to show what Michelangelo is projecting from his mind. And then he's talking about how that mission to go after the last Oroku, which I think is supposed to be Kari's son, it was supposed to be a one-way ticket, but he has redemption. And he goes, I will finish what we started, what Master Splinter raised us to do. The last Oroku will die. Now we go back in the time, and we see Kairi here at the East Docks with the foot. And she's like, kill the mutants. You know, blood has been spilt, and there's no turning back now. We must finish what we have started. The truce between the Foot and the Hamata clans has been broken. Blood has been spilled. And again, one thing I do want to stress here is Kevin Eastman said that a lot of his art styles were inspired by Frank Miller. And they even went on record saying that with the same mutagen that turned the turtles into what they are was supposed to be the same mutagen. So back up a little bit. When Matt Murdock saves that pedestrian from that truck and the toxins hit him in the eye, that same stuff is supposed to be the stuff that fell off that truck and made the turtles. So it goes to show here that when you see Kairi, look at how much she resembles Elektra. So I love that little nod to what they initially started out doing in this comic series, and just the deadpan stare in her eyes that she's fed up, she wants to roll. And an amazing battle between her and Raph break out. And there's more artwork of him just slashing through foot soldiers. Oh my god, the battle scenes are just breathtaking. I know, I don't want to spoil this, but I do want to show one scene where Kairi's coming at Raph. This reminds me of the way he's just riddled with arrows. This reminds me of Claremont and Frank Miller's Wolverine miniseries that came out, and Wolverine's trying to get to Mexico, and Logan's just filled with arrows. That's very much what this reminds me of. But then again, a lot of people have likened this book to Old Man Logan, and I can see the resemblance, but it's still its own thing. And just look at the way they did this, the moon blood red. She's flying and she's saying, "Die, beast." And, oh, the fight. It is absolutely amazing. Now, here you think that we go back into the present, April and Mikey are talking, and she's like, "Casey, breakfast," and he's like, "Wait, what? Casey's still alive too?" I don't want to spoil what this means, but there's kind of a big surprise, and it's very welcomed. It works really well for the story. The last thing that I do want to go over is Mikey actually goes to Tenet talking about what happened after the battle. Because you come to find out where April's living, and she's living in the old lair. You know, they were talking over a cup of tea. He's like, "Yeah, I made some tea. I hope that's okay." And she goes, "This was your home long before I moved in." So we see that, you know, Mike has essentially come home and has to kind of find his roots. There's something we find out about the TGRI mutagen, too. What's happening with his body. It's really interesting. But Mike talking about how after everything that happened with his brothers and Master Splinter, he left New York. He said he went out into the mountains. He's like, "It was time to look down deep in my soul for answers." He's like, "I spent years thinking that this was where I was supposed to be like a stupid reward or a deserved punishment or something." So there's something that motivates him to leave, because he starts to think that he's found some sort of inner peace rereading Master Splinter's journal that we saw from the first issue. But something finally prompts him that he needs to restore his family's honor. So in this story, I like where his story ends is where issue 1 begins. So we kind of get this. And then another thing I wanted to talk about here is the artwork that you see. This is very much akin to the original Ninja Turtles comic, where it's just that gritty black and white pencils. You know, it wasn't a clean book, but it was still, the artwork was amazing. It was raw and just that old school indie style. So with that said, I don't want to spoil any more of this book, but I do like that how when Mike's talking about his story, it kind of picks up and leads you into the next book. So it's kind of like a nice little segue there, how he says he's coming back to New York. He says it was time to come home to face it, to complete my mission, kill the last Oroku. And then on Splinter's journal, there's something that says no peace. And someone says, "What does that mean?" Well, if you guys want to know what it means, I highly recommend picking up Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtles, The Last Ronin's issues 1 and 2. This book, as I said last review, I think is going to come down in the annals as one of those pivotal stories that is going to stand alongside, the last Dark Knight Returns, Watchmen, V for Vendetta. I have a funny feeling this is going to be one of those ones that gets put into a collected trade paperback and is constantly reprinted. So it's awesome to be able to get these in the single trades, or the single floppies as you want to call them, and just enjoy the story now and just feel those initial impacts instead of having to go back and watch old documentaries from like the 80s when those other pivotal books came out, because I was too young then to remember them. So yeah, guys, definitely get this series. If you've enjoyed it, as I just said, please support your local comic shop and get issues 1 and 2. And if you've enjoyed this review, we really would appreciate you take a moment to hit like, share, and subscribe. Helps the club channel more than you could possibly know. And if you wouldn't mind hitting that little Heroes in a Half Shell bell next to subscribe, that way as we continue to upload content, you guys will get notified. Come to the channel, and we love hearing your feedback and talking with y'all down in the comments below or on our social media pages, which I will make sure to leave the links down in the description below. So with all that said, thank you so much for stopping by. Hope you all continue to have an absolutely amazing day reading, and happy hunting, true believers.